Good morning, good afternoon. Oh, no, sorry, wrong channel. Hail, the Celtics are here. And what the hell do we care now? We're just top of the league, McBride. We've got daylight, we've got distance, we've got breathing room, and we're all in a bit of disbelief at how quickly things have turned around. We are back for a wee bit of Celtic Supporters Club here on the Celtics are here. I am Quinny, and I'm joined as ever by McBride Ace. McBride, good to see you, mate. Hail.
Hail. Good evening. It's not good morning. No, it's certainly not where I am anyway. So, yeah, we've not had one of these in a while. So, picked a good weekend. I'm sure we'll have a right good laugh tonight at a few things. But yeah, huge turnaround. And what was happening? I think the very last one we'd done, we were talking about how difficult it was going to be and all that type of stuff. So, yeah, bit of a change. But there we go. It's a positive one.
Aye. And it just shows you, like, you know, I was quite doubtful. I don't know about you, right? But see, especially after we drew with them, when Rodgers is still talking about, like, oh, you know, there's going to be twists and turns, and you hear him putting a bit of faith in the fact that they might slip up, or they would probably slip up between now and obviously we've got the Derby match as well. Still is, like, in his mind, some sort of cushion. And it just made me nervous thinking like that. It's like, nah, you can't tempt fate that much. We should be putting them to bed. We should have been a bit more decisive perhaps in January. We spoke about that at the time. I don't want to pull out that old chestnut, but, you know, but when you see them back-to-back games against Ross County and Dundee, dropping a combined 3 points, you know, with the draw and then the loss. Oh, no, sorry, the two. No, I'm losing my mind here. How many points dropped? Somebody said to me earlier 3, and I was like, no, it's not 3 because it was a draw, so it's only 2. Yeah, 4, of course. So I had that in my head from earlier. But yeah, 4 points dropped. We are 3 points clear. That's probably where a wee bit of the mental mix around there comes from. But yeah, it's looking good. We've got a cup semi-final this weekend to get stuck into, which will be good fun. But then it's into the split. We've got the fixtures. We've got 3 games at home. And yeah, this home stretch, it's, you know, we're coming to life, as Rodgers was saying.
Yeah, I think like we've talked about it a lot on here as well, but getting like Hatate back and everything's made just such a big difference. So I mean, even this is Sorare CSC, so even having like Vickers back and seeing clean sheets and stuff, and it might not matter as much to anybody else. So, you know what it's like for the fancy football, we really need a clean sheet. So you see these games like the St Johnstone game, Vickers is playing off the last 5 minutes, and then bang, you know, we can see the goal and stuff. So, you know, getting Vickers back, getting him healthy has been a real sort of positive. And I know Jay Wright, who's put this on during Clyde. I'm sorry about that. I'm sure that they'll run out of Rangers fans to talk to in Clyde Super Scoreboard. And then Hatate, I mean, it's just really good to see him back. Like, I know he's obviously scored good goals and stuff, but I don't think it's just to do with that. It's the way we're playing, you know, the way he's taking the ball in, the way he's progressing things, the way sometimes we're playing against teams, and you just need somebody with that kind of technique, you know. But I mean, now we're getting obviously a lot of those guys back. Shane Maeda's injured, but because he looks as if he was kind of coming onto a game as well. But it just makes such a big difference, and they're real proper quality players. So no excuses. I mean, obviously got a big squad, bought a lot of players and all that type of stuff, but you just see, I just feel different confidence wise in terms of how we're playing, and you know, if we're going to keep a clean sheet, and how we're moving the ball about, and just generally just feel a lot more confident. What about yourself? I mean, obviously you're a real Hatate fan in terms of the Sorare stuff as well, but it made a big difference, I think.
Oh, for sure. I was just going to go and try and pull a wee page and some stats and whatever up, because Hatate, you know, like we've been waxing lyrical about you know how much we've been needing that extra piece in midfield when he's been out, because it doesn't just add like a dimension and, you know, all that other kind of cliche stuff that we all say about football, but like genuinely it adds a gear, you know, that the team just don't have, where you can play it into a tight space, and with 1 or 2 touches we're in the final third, they're on the back foot, and we've got somebody running forward or looking to play a ball in. And as much as, like, yeah, O'Reilly's got that in his game, yeah, McGregor's got that in his game, neither one of them really own that kind of role, if you know what I mean. And since Hatate's been back in, obviously this is the last 3 months he's been out injured, but the last 3 games, 65 minutes and 71 minutes in the other one. Not just the goal, but the contribution in and around the pitch. It's been striking. You know, it's made and you know, we were talking about this on the podcast this week and on some of the analysis videos on the channel. But you know, with Hatate coming into that role there and really like getting the best out of O'Reilly. And you then see the value of Iwata in that position and the value of a real defensive midfielder behind the two of them. Like the midfield has just got this great balance to it now.
Yeah. I think with Hatate, he's one of those guys where we don't have somebody else that's got those similar skills. So, I mean, Iwata's kind of stepped up, which is good. You know, I think when McGregor was out, he took that role and maybe let O'Reilly get a bit further forward, etc. But Hatate is a guy where, you know, he's just got these sort of that ability where he can take the ball in a half turn and he can, you know, he's kind of always looking to pass the ball forward. Whereas we've criticised a lot of these performances this season where the ball was getting into midfield and coming back and we're passing the ball about a lot at the back and stuff like that. But also you need people who are able to actually receive the ball and have that skill as well. So I mean, I guess after sort of last sort of summer, I didn't see him staying actually. I thought we would end up losing him. I was worried in the summer that he would end up going. So hopefully now he'll settle down and he'll stay for a couple of years as well. But I think it's an area we need to address in terms of looking at the recruitment as well as the actual type of players we're looking to sign in there, because we do have a good few guys in there who can do similar jobs. But even Paulo Bernardo, as much as I like him, he's not the same style of player as Hatate is. So yeah, brilliant to see him back. He scored a great goal, obviously, to open things up against St Mirren, wasn't it? And just think the balance of the team, the way we're playing, the way the ball's going forward, it just looks much better when he's in there. So it's great to see that.
Yeah, totally. And you raise a great point, and Strange Love the Doctor is kind of echoing that as well, in terms of who does Rio profile alongside. You know, is there similar players out there we should be looking and thinking about? Because this balance is the key to like this team playing Rodgers ball well. We see better performances out of the wingers, and like the fullbacks are having their best period of the season. You know, it's quite obvious as well. The problem with the players that are similar to Hatate, especially the ones on our doorstep, even in Austria and Belgium and these types of places, is they go for 20, 30 million to Atletico Madrid and to the Premier League and to Italy and to these places. So, you know, that's kind of why we've ended up with Hatate. You kind of need to look even further, and you need to take a wee bit of a risk on some people actually developing and coming good in that sense. So you're probably looking again back to Japan and Korea perhaps to try and get someone else. And we definitely have some aficionados in the chat. So there's definitely more talent coming out of there. So, you know, I can see there's a turn in there for after that kind of that doppelganger, that kind of handcuff, as we call it, for the position. Because Paulo Bernardo isn't that guy, you know, for sure. I don't know if I've seen enough from Odenholm to totally rule him out, but I think, you know, shopping in the league isn't necessarily a bad idea. There's a good shout here for Bosun Lawal, who we've seen loaned out to League One, in England. And I think we've all been pretty impressed initially with how Quan did at St Mirren, and even the likes of maybe like emerging talents like Lennon Miller. We've also seen Ferguson go away to Italy. So when you see more talent coming through, maybe you get a bit more interested in it a wee bit quicker. But it's a hard one to really say, oh, this guy, we can definitely afford him. He's definitely good enough, and he'll definitely be happy to develop under Hatate or rotate with him through minutes and injuries and whatever, because the ones that are the easiest to say, oh yeah, him, you know, it's like Matt Sweefer or something like that, and it's just not going to happen, you know. Joey Veerman or something, you know.
Also on the shopping list, Atletico Madrid. Yeah, I mean, that's the difficulty. I mean, Hatate really kind of reminds me of Modric. I know that's quite a big kind of sort of statement to make and stuff like that, but when you see the way he plays and the way he scored that goal with outside his right foot, just kind of ability-wise, supposed to bringing it back to Celtic, he's not quite like Moravcik level or whatever, but he does have ability. And Modric was just on my mind because I was watching the game last night and he came on and he's out of contract, and see Dynamo Zagreb put an advert up in the Spanish press asking him to come home. They're desperate to sign him and stuff like that. So you never know. Sometimes these guys at that level do kind of become available and stuff as well. But I'm sure that from Celtic's point of view, I guess that the question is, do we want to go and buy a Kuryu Matsuki or whatever and sit him on the bench, or give him a year or two to acclimatise, or do we want to go and find somebody that's an actual Hatate that's going to come in and compete and just say, well, there's 3 spots in the midfield, but nobody's guaranteed a game. You know, you've got to be playing well. You know, because guys like Odenholm, I think he's a good player, but the problem is, what game time is he going to get at Celtic? You know, if the league's won with 2 games to spare, he might get some game time, but he's not really getting game time, and he'd probably be better playing in League One in England or playing in Norway or something and actually developing his game rather than just being on the bench and stuff. So we'll see what happens. But first and foremost, I mean, there's reference in the Champions League last night, but that's the big thing this season, isn't it? It's going to be the last season, like the season after this, no guaranteed qualification to the Champions League. So the big money this season, and we've got to really sort of drive that home, use it well, enjoy it, hopefully get some better results, get the coefficient back up, etc. Because the season after, where even the league winners are going to have to qualify for the Champions League. So we've got to kind of start acting like a Champions League club, maybe push the boat out a wee bit and just buy a couple of £10 million players and send some of these guys out on loan or whatever. Seeing the chat about Adam Ida, I would sign Ida. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I think the only problem is we don't have the actual buy option in there. So because he's doing better, his price naturally is going to go up. But if we could shift on Mikey Johnson, etc., or include him in the deal or whatever, then why not buy him? I mean, the goals he scored really have helped save the season.
I'm in the buy Ida camp. But 6 million is a wee bit too pricey. 4 million feels a wee bit palatable. But I'm definitely in the sign Ida camp if we can. Even if it's like even if we do something cheapskate like loan to buy again or some nonsense, okay, we'll give you 6 million, but it's loan first in case it's just a flash in the pan or something, perhaps, I don't know.
I suppose it depends whether they're going to agree that. I mean, the other guy we've been linked with there's Angus Gunn, right? But you'd imagine that a goalkeeper at that level, Scottish goalkeeper playing in England, that they're going to want like 5, 6, 7 million or something for him as well. But I think interestingly, Gunn is out of contract not this year but the year after. So obviously Norwich probably have to make a decision on him, otherwise they're going to risk that he's going to go on a free at some point. And mentioning the goalkeeper position as well, well, we're going to have to invest in that position because we've got no choice now, which is a shame because I think actually Joe Hart's had a pretty good season.
But I think he's definitely trying to go out with a bang, isn't he? And you bring up a great point actually, because this weekend it's an evening with Joe Hart at Celtic Park, and Celtics are here. We'll be there to ask Big Joe a couple of questions and get some it's just part of his whole retirement shindig and all the rest of it. So it should be good crack. I'm obviously like I'll try to get that card some more utility. I'll tell you that, McBride.
That would be the bit.
Have you ever heard, Joe? Have you ever heard of Liga de Quito?
Just go play somewhere as long as it's a covered league. Japan,
exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm kind of the way he's playing. I'm a wee bit surprised he is just hanging up his boots because he's shown that he's definitely can do a job even for Celtic just now. It feels like he's doing a job now. Whether or not that's what we're aspiring to in terms of moving forward, but also there is a risk that you can go and spend 6 or 7 million on a goalkeeper and they don't really settle to the task and they're not as good as Joe Hart as well. For all his faults or the things that we sort of criticise him for or whatever, he was a top level international goalkeeper, played for England, played in the English Premier League, all that type of stuff. So and he seems a real kind of presence in the dressing room, a guy who really understands Celtic and the job in hand and winning and all that type of stuff. So he's going to be big boots to fill. But if we do the business and we really do what we ought to do now, because nothing's won yet, but the money shouldn't really be an issue from that point of view. And obviously he'll be on a good wage as well. So you would think you'd be able to attract somebody who's a good quality to that position.
Yeah, I would hope so. And it feels like we're kind of sideways twisting into some transfer chat, which I'm all about, I think the goalkeeper area but is where I would want to spend the money because we've given Joe Hart a lot of wages. We've put a lot of value and a lot of value is the best way of putting it, into his experience, his credentials and what he kind of gave to the changing room and like the development of the defence over the last couple of years. And you want to keep levels, you want to keep standards as high as possible. And we've seen some, I don't know if you'd quite call it breaking news or whatever, breaking leaks and all that stuff. But on goal.com earlier this week, it was revealed that Liverpool will not stand in the way of Kelleher if he wants to leave. And the quoted fee that Celtic and Nottingham Forest were linked in the article to signing him for was 12 million. Now 12 million, I think, for somebody like Kelleher is probably a deal that Celtic could do. And I was not convinced on this when we were talking about it in December and January because of the number 2 goalkeeper angle of it all. But in the last 6 months, like, I know we're in April, so really it's the last 3 or 4 we're looking at here since Alisson's been injured. But he's proven he's like, I know Liverpool are going out of Europe, but for me, like, sure, if you can do that for Liverpool in the Prem and 25 years old, developing goalkeeper, 12 million quid, I think that's the sort of bigger money move I would hope to see us make. Now, Brendan is on the record in the summer of saying we won't be spending 12, 15, 20 million pounds on players. But hopefully there's been a bit of a reality check at Celtic Park, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a report that Liverpool turned down 15 in January. I guess now you see what's happened with Alisson, that they were right to do that because, they've needed him this season. But can we get him for 12 million? What's that, wages and everything are we talking about there? I mean, there's absolutely no doubt about it. I think he would be a really good signing, Kelleher. He is a good big goalkeeper. It'd be good enough for us. But is that a deal that's possible? I don't know. The other one we were linked with was Kakir at Trabzonspor. I think that seems more in our range. Turkish goalkeeper, so we're going to the Euros. He's also the Trabzonspor captain, I think, as well, which is quite interesting because I think that Celtic are really going to be looking for somebody there in that position with experience that can really take that on and do something similar to what Joe Hart has. So I'm not saying the guy will come in and do that, but somebody that's got that sort of stature would be pretty good. His stats on Sorare, etc., are not really that good because they're not a very good team in terms of defending, but he is actually a good goalkeeper. So, I think that he may well be the type that we would look for. Say stats don't look that good, but there's,
I can see the lot.
Yeah, they're not a well organised team. Let's put it that way. So he's pretty busy sometimes. And a lot of these really poor scores are because they've conceded 3 goals and stuff as well. But he has been pretty nailed for Turkey for a good few years, and you see his age there, sort of 28 and stuff as well. I mean, I think actually, even if you have a strategy of a sort of buying younger guys and stuff, I really don't think we should be dabbling in that in terms of the goalkeeper position because, it really is a position where you need experience, and we're talking about getting into the Champions League and everything here, right? So somebody who's got that sort of experience of playing for their own club, playing for their national team and stuff, and Angus Gunn as well, I think would be a good choice. I mean, he's done well for Scotland. Anytime I've seen him playing for Norwich, he's looked pretty capable as well. Why not? If the price is right, I don't really see why we would be against that, especially if maybe we can get him $1 million or $2 million cheaper if he is in a scenario where he's actually out of contract a year down the line and Norwich are just thinking about maybe cashing in and getting that fee for him. Maybe there's a double deal to be done there. I don't know. But he would seem to be an obvious one, being the Scottish goalkeeper and stuff. So you would think that he'll definitely be one that's on the radar at Celtic as well.
It's got a bit of the Craig Gordons about it, doesn't it? That's just kind of like, I don't mind. It'll probably work out good enough, if you know what I mean. But when it doesn't work out, you'd be like, that's because you got the goalkeeper for Norwich, or just like it used to be, that's what you get for having Craig Gordon in goals. That's kind of what I feel with a move like that. But with the Kakir one, just to put this out for anyone that doesn't keep up with this stuff like maniacs like we do, but the latest report that came out of Trabzonspor was that they'd been contacted by Michael Nicholson saying Celtic intend to lodge a bid and try and sign this kid. And I think that intention is on the predication that we win the league. So I think as soon as the league's wrapped up, we probably send that fax over to Trabzonspor. If that's the way I read it, certainly. So maybe we see that in a couple of weeks once the league. Maybe, let's see how it goes, and we don't want to jinx anything. Every one game at a time and all the rest of it. We were also linked to Zetterer for Werder Bremen. He's going to be leaving them out of contract and all the rest of it. If we were going to be looking, I'm really happy to look at that kind of profile of goalkeeper. For me, the number 1 goalkeeper on the market, but that ticks that box, is at Wolfsburg. His name is Koen Casteels, the current Belgium number 1 since Courtois done his ACL, MCL, whatever it was. He's out of contract with Wolfsburg. They've signed the Copenhagen goalkeeper to replace him already, and he wants to leave. And he wants to leave and go and live his best life somewhere at a different team, a different experience, and all the rest of it. And I would imagine European football is probably high on his wish list. So a free transfer again. He's 31 years old. He's played Bundesliga football for as long as you've been paying attention to it. And, you know, say Belgium number 3, 2, 1 over the years is the way things have went for him. So a guy that Wolfsburg haven't been in Europe that much over the last, like, however long he's been there, you know, but maybe they've been in the Europa League once or something. So anyway, if we're looking at that kind of end of the transfer market, I like him.
Yeah, I think there are ones. So the initial link was Etienne Vassen, plays in Holland, and PSV are linked to him as well. So obviously pretty highly rated, free contract, and one that I've not really actually seen, which I'm surprised about, is Matt Ryan, Australian goalkeeper. So he's out of contract at AZ, and they've got a really good young player, Owusu Ejiro, and they've given him a long contract, and they've kind of made a decision, we're going to let this guy move on and then he'll play. But Matt Ryan's out of contract, and again, Australian international goalkeeper, loads of experience, played in La Liga, etc. You know, think would be a pretty good signing. Jay's saying Matt Ryan turned us down before. Well, maybe, but I mean, I think it was at Sociedad he was at, and then obviously he's moved to AZ. But I think the thing is he's on a free, so you know, and if he doesn't have any other offers, because you assume that these guys will have offers, but it doesn't always work out that way. You know, it's just it's a funny old game from that point of view. Does he really fancy going somewhere to sit on the bench again, or maybe if he's offered big wages and stuff, then he will. But yeah, I think I'm quite happy, generally speaking, with the names we're linked with, but we've seen in the past that we've signed guys and there's been no leaks at all. In the Kuhn one, there was concrete leaks, you know, it was like 1 or 2 weeks of things ongoing and then we signed them and stuff. But, you know, I think the problem has been linked with a number of goalkeepers, so we'll just wait and see who we eventually get.
John Milne with some cracking shouts, by the way. I just put on screen there a new name to me, Benguru Camara, and he's coming out with a shout for the Montpellier keeper. Now, the Montpellier keeper is a wee bit of the streets won't forget. This guy, if you actually watch him, is like an amazing keeper. But he's 32, and he just went back to Montpellier from Spain, so I don't know if he's even available or whatever. But he's a good keeper, but I don't think he's top level. He's not Champions League level. I don't think he would add anything to us. But yeah, I wasn't intending to speak on goalkeepers, whatever, because like you say, Joe Hart, he picked up a clean sheet the weekend there, and you know he's doing a lovely kind of victory lap, as it were, for his career in that sense. And I think he'll be gunning down a few more clean sheets before the end of the season. And like you say, he's doing a night with Joe Hart at Celtic Park this weekend. I'm sure tickets are still available. I doubt it's a sellout at this stage. If any of you want to go and pick that up, maybe go and check it out. But yeah, I think like Hatate, the goalkeeper situation, which I think about what we've touched on already, McBride, we had a few things we did want to line out here. I think at the weekend and, you know, coming into the split, certainly, we were talking there kind of the goalkeeper and the defence and whatever for, you know, how like the fullbacks have got better, certainly. And, you know, we feel like quite set in defence at the moment with Vickers coming back into fitness, etc. But we've seen Scales out and the Rocky come in. And again, it's just maybe now over the next couple of games, I think the Rocky did really well in these matches where we're probably going to have more possession. I think you can see that the Rocky does give you a bit more in that kind of middle third to try and, you know, get the ball into the forwards. He's just got a wee bit more guile about him, as it were. So I think that gives a bit of a headache into the manager. Is that something we really want to be dealing with this time of the season, is altering around the centre-backs when they're all fit?
Yeah, I mean, probably not, to be honest. But then the Scales thing was enforced. I remember that day. It was like an hour before the Sorare deadline, and I was scrambling, like moving all these different things about, and panic was setting in and all that sort of stuff. If I put the guy in the right place. So yeah, I mean, I think from Liam Scales' point of view, I think firstly, overall, I think he's had a good season. Been a lot of times where we've relied on him when Vickers has been out, but I think that when you look at the performances recently, I don't know whether either he's running out of steam or whatever, but I think Nawrocki is better on the ball. So it depends what you're going to look for in there. In all honesty, if you've got somebody who's half capable in beside Vickers, makes a huge difference, because having CCV in there is the biggest difference when he's fit. But certainly, I wouldn't be against giving Nawrocki a chance. People think back to the game where he got rinsed at Aberdeen and stuff, but an early booking and he was treading eggshells. And for me, the problem with Nawrocki is he's never really had a clear run either in the team or not getting injured. He's picking up all these injuries. He wasn't in the Champions League squad because he got a bad injury. and he's never forced his way in. But maybe if Scales was out for a couple of games and Novrocky plays, Scales might not get back in the team this season, in all honesty, because that's could be Novrocky's chance to sort of nail down the place. But I mean, I like him. I honestly think that he's got a lot to offer, and people who have written him off maybe are being a wee bit harsh there as well, just because he's not featured. But that could be to do with other factors like the injuries and stuff like that. And the Lagerbielke thing's just pretty weird to me in terms of how he's been treated. But I don't know. Maybe sometimes things go on in the background and he's wanted away or whatever. But that could be just because he's not getting a look in as well. I don't know. It's just unusual. Do you think Quinny will? I mean, especially if Lagerbielke goes, think we'll be in the market for another centre back in the summer as well?
I don't think so. I think surely the centre backs, unless I'm just totally off track here, but I think Rodgers is really happy probably with Nawrocki, Scales, and Carter Vickers. Welsh is your fourth man, and maybe you get somebody out of the academy, or maybe you do buy somebody from Scandinavia again for a packet of crisps to be a prospect and be maybe a bit of a challenger or something. But I don't see us going to spending. Like, how much money did we spend on centre backs? Similar to Barkas. After we spent that money on Barkas, you could tell they were like, we're not spending any more money on a goalkeeper. Like, we'll go and get a free move, or we'll try and do something, because we just spent all that money on him and then cancelled this deal, which I still maintain it was just the most ludicrous thing they could have done. But anyway, that's for another day, I suspect. So I don't think they want to spend any more money on centre backs. I think they'll just have to pee with what they've got to keep it clean. Yeah. Because it's left back is where the defence needs the money, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's what I was going to say. So one thing that came into my mind there was Rodgers saying that if something happened and Taylor was out after Bernabei left, he said Liam Scales can cover there. So I think in his mind, I don't think Liam Scales is any better a left back than he is a centre half, by the way. But like, obviously, if you have guys who can fill in there if something happens, then that's a good thing to have in the squad. So I don't know. I mean, if Lagerbielke goes, we have seen that there's been points this season where we've still been struggling for centre halves. So, what do we do there? Do we keep Iwata there and keep him as a cover for McGregor, and maybe can step in at centre half if really needed? Because he can do that role. He's played there with Yokohama before, especially beside Vickers probably. But I don't know. I mean, I think overall, Stephen Welsh, how many chances he had? I mean, maybe he's been unlucky with injuries and stuff, but I can't remember the game. But we started a game and it was like Scales and Welsh and like Ralston, and you're just thinking, that's just not really a very good, right? It's not very good back four. Whereas you see Johnson, Vickers, maybe Scales and Nawrocki and Taylor, and you think, all right, you could maybe get a more attacking left back than Taylor, or you could look for somebody younger or whatever, but pretty solid, and you know what you're going to get there, that type of thing, So yeah, I think you're right. I mean, we're going to be spending money in a goalie, and I think we're almost definitely going to have to buy a left back. So it's probably harder to see us also spending a lot of money in a centre half. And I spied as well talking about O'Reilly. I mean, that's going to be a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, Atletico Madrid come in with the 20 or 30 million or whatever. Are we going to turn that down? Is he going to want to move on to Madrid? I mean, I've been in Madrid. I wouldn't blame him for wanting to go to Madrid with the recent weather here. I wouldn't blame him at all.
I don't think we're getting spring in Scotland this year. I don't know if anyone else has noticed this. I can't. This is something I just can't shake the now, McBride. Sorry, but right. See the now. See everywhere I look. All I'm seeing is trees with no leaves on them. It's almost May. I just feel like this is like some sort of parallel dimension, because normally, like, my birthday is in March, and normally spring is around my birthday. You've had a sunny day or two. It's like every tree still doesn't have any blooming leaves on it. Anyway, that's for another one. Michelle here and John asking about the O'Reilly one. I think that I seen a quote. I've maintained up until like now, essentially, I don't think Atleti would come back for O'Reilly, but I've seen a quote from Simeone saying they're going to buy 2 in each position and sell a bunch of guys in the summer. And what they mean by 2 in each position is 2 defenders, 2 mids, and 2 attackers. So that's their transfer policy for the summer. And if that is it, you can imagine they're probably going to come back in for Matt O'Reilly. I think O'Reilly, if he is going to leave us, I think because we're talking about this on the podcast again. Sorry to sound like a broken record, but he is a different type of guy. You know, he's got a life coach, and you've seen all the kind of stuff he's done. He left, you know, Fulham for MK Dons, and, you know, he's did all that kind of stuff. I don't think he would leave us, and I'll use them as an example. I don't think he would leave us to go to Man United for certain, you know, if like they finish outside of Europe, for example. Because I think he fancies himself to have a good Champions League campaign and kind of get his career like on the map. Because as far as emerging young midfielders go in Europe, we all rate him super highly. And out there, maybe one or two people think, oh yeah, he could be a player, he could be something. But it's not like other guys around Europe where, like, when Enzo Fernandez was at Benfica, or like Florian Wirtz a year or two ago when he's first breaking, you know, he's not had any of that hype around him. And guys need European exposure to get that. Celtic needed him to get European exposure to sell him on for even more money. So I say, I don't think, basically my point, maybe he would go to Man United, who am I to say that? But like, you know, I don't think he just goes definitely like to Saudi Arabia or to like Crystal Palace or something like that. You know, I don't think he's got that in him. I think it's going to have to be a super offer from a super club to get him out this summer.
I watched Crystal Palace against Liverpool, and I thought they actually played a pretty good game of football, to be honest. The thing is, he's sort of Danish, but it's kind of Denmark. Is English parents? So, you know, if the English Premier League comes calling, you know that actually from what's happened with Edward and everything that guys can go. I mean, interestingly, I think O'Reilly was the official UEFA man of the match against Atletico Madrid. So you can see why really they were looking at him, because he put in a really impressive performance. And other teams do notice stuff like that as well. You know, I get what you mean about the hype, but from a scouting perspective, I think that other teams do sort of notice that. So I think it all depends on the bids that come in. I mean, the thing with the summer market is that you've got this financial fair play stuff resetting and budgets, and there's things going on in the English Premier League where they're trying to like release it a bit more so that clubs can spend. It feels as if clubs are getting penalised for wanting to spend and buy players and all that sort of stuff. So if money starts moving around, you see in the market when Saudi Arabia started putting the money in, all of a sudden the money started moving around in the market a bit as well. Guys, you know, were moving on and all that type of stuff. So it definitely could happen. But it all comes down to, is the price right for Celtic? Because he signed a 5-year deal, so Celtic are not under any pressure whatsoever to actually sell him. And if we do the business and finish things off, which is looking more likely, you've got that Champions League money there as well. So there's no real pressure to have to actually raise money. And people say, well, previous seasons we've always sold people on. But that's the whole point of the model, right? That's what Ange was talking about, where you can be quite aggressive and you trade, but then that lets you go and buy a better quality player. And where we've not really got to yet is the point where we can keep our players, but then add to that rather than having to sell O'Reilly and then use that money to buy other guys. But yeah, I mean, I said earlier, I thought Hatate was going to go last summer, so I was wrong in that, and I hope I'm wrong about O'Reilly as well, because, you know, I'm a huge fan of him. So
yeah, I hope Athletic don't come calling. That's definitely what I'm saying. And John Milner, another great shout. De Gea's a free agent. I would love. I'm not a big De Gea fan, but I think he'd be fucking great at Celtic. I'll tell you that for absolutely nothing. You know, I think he'd do great in Europe for us, or as good as a Celtic keeper probably could. So yeah, I like that. A lot of chat here at Green, saying, or not agreeing, but, you know, kind of echoing what you're saying in some regard, talking about Hatate greater than O'Reilly. And I think like Hatate's impact is felt in the team much more than probably O'Reilly's impact, like overall. But really, I think in equal measure, if you took O'Reilly out the team, especially because you know, maybe it's easily forgotten at this stage, but O'Reilly is kind of walking in the footsteps of Aaron Moy and Tom Rogic over the last like 4 seasons. We've always had, like in that period anyway, like a strong attacking midfielder who's cool, calm, you know, can kind of do everything, go box to box and line to line. And I think if we, and I've spoken about this, and I think we've done this on the show as well before, but like if we did play a midfield on the full-time basis of a Wata, Hatate and McGregor, we would be crying out for a O'Reilly type, you know, big time.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, he's put in some really good performances in big games this season as well. So I think the 2 games at Ibrox, you know, I remember he was the first game where we won 1-0, he was absolutely outstanding. I think he he was like 92 out of 100 or something in Sorare, which is incredible to be able to do that in probably the toughest away game of the season out with Champions League. And then, just the composure he had to take that penalty and stuff. I think that people don't realise, like, just kind of how special some of those qualities actually are. This is a completely changed subject, but the game last night, you looked at Jude Bellingham and he would come over and he was talking and he talked well and he was composed, and it was this huge Champions League game and he was taking the ball down the middle of the pitch, and that's a quality in itself to have that general composure when you can play those big games. And look at what's happened over the other side of the city. I mean, they've shat it, haven't they? So so I had to get it in the show. They've absolutely shat it.
That's kind of where we started, and then we ended up talking about going down the scouting wormhole there. But big time, it's been such a huge turnaround over the last weekend. Essentially, is what it feels like after all the Pitchgate stuff with Dundee over various midweeks, and obviously the Ross County result. But it's just swung right back. But I think it's good at the moment that we do have a little bit of that control over the next couple of games in terms of the confidence of the players, because no Maeda for the rest of the season. We spoke about how amazing it is to have Hatate back in town, the balance we've struck in midfield, and even the Rocky being fit again to maybe show us why he was brought to the club. But without Maeda, it really opens up the door now for the new boys, Yang and Palma, to say, right, guys, it's post-split. It's about getting us over the line. And who's going to get the nod from the manager, number one, and then both of them will feature every game. You've got to imagine from the bench or from the start. So who is going to grasp the opportunities that come and be the difference maker on that left hand side? How do you feel about Yang, Palma, or another for the running?
I don't think Yang can play in the left. I don't think he's
interesting.
He can play in the left, but I don't. He's quite inconsistent, and I think he's a wee bit weak on the left-hand side, a bit like Maeda is as well. But bear in mind that when Maeda's playing there, he's bringing other stuff to the team as well in terms of pressing and all that sort of stuff. Palma, obviously, kind of just coming back in. He had a real dip as well, but remember he had a spell where he was contributing a lot of goals, and I think, without getting too idealistic about it, these last 5 games are just about getting over the line, right? So you want to have goals and assists and clean sheets, and you want to win. So I think that Palma actually might have a good shout at coming back in, because as much as I like Yang, and I think that there's a player in there, he's heavily inconsistent. And Palma did, at least, he scored against Atletico Madrid. He scored against Lazio. It was narrowly offside. He's like going on runs of goals and assists and stuff like that over certain periods, whereas Yang's not really proven over a sort of longer distance, if that makes sense, that he can keep doing it. But it's good that we've got some options. We've got Kuhn, we've got Yang, you've got Palma. You might even see James Forrest getting a bit of game time as well. I mean, why not? I mean, you're playing a big semi-final at the weekend, and there's a guy who's been there, done it. He's scored big goals in semi-finals and stuff. Like, I really do think that at some point you'll probably see him getting some minutes at the weekend as well. And why not at this stage? I mean, you can talk about what's going to happen going forward and all that sort of stuff, but you do need experience in the likes of these games as well. So we'll see what happens. But undoubtedly, Maeda being out's a bit of a blow, because I think it was really. He was playing a lot better than he was, and he looked his old self. He was a real proper menace to teams, and that goal at Ibrox really set the tone for the first half and everything as well.
Yeah, I think so, and I think we want to keep that. That's the thing. I think with Palma, you get that cutting edge technique and quality, power in the shots and the deliveries you get from him, but you really do lose a lot of good decision making, I think, or just team play and pressing with intent. And I think with Yang on the left hand side, you kind of just get the actual opposite of that, where he, similar to Maeda, he's full of energy, he's full of endeavour, but sometimes it doesn't quite, doesn't fall for him, doesn't quite get the pass right, it doesn't quite get the shot off, whatever it might be. And again, I think I had this video out on the channel a couple of days ago, so if you haven't seen it yet, anyone you want to catch it in a bit more detail, feel free. But I spent a wee bit of time, McBride, having a wee think, and I thought to myself, and you know, I would love to see Kyogo on the left and Ida through the middle. I'd love to see that for a game. You know, maybe we'll see it against Aberdeen, who knows? But I think Kyogo could do the Dyson Maeda tribute act on that left wing, the pressing job, the maniac effort, no problem at all. But what Kyogo has, like that Dyson doesn't, is a bit of that killer touch. If you think about all the chances Maeda's had, and you could just have put Kyogo there, you know.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot of goals left on the table, isn't there, to be gotten?
I was going to say that, actually. I mean, I think a lot of the times the way we played, Furuhashi likes to get on the end of balls, if that makes sense, and we've not always been able to get him on the end of those runs going in behind. But he is a good enough footballer to contribute in that position, I think, as well. So I wouldn't mind seeing us try that. I honestly wouldn't. I mean, you know, don't want to sort of tempt fate, but Aberdeen have been very poor this season, and you know, really that's a game we ought to be expecting that we're going to win. Now, you've still got to turn up, you've still got to do it. Things can happen on the day, things can go wrong, all that type of stuff. But they have been really, really, really poor this season, Aberdeen. So you would hope that we're able to do the business there. But it's good to have those options there, and I wouldn't rule out playing Furu there because, you know, the other guys are hardly out and out left wingers either. So, like, you know, what's going to open up a defence, or what's going to get you goals, or what's going to work better for the team. And Furuhashi's definitely got that endeavour in terms of the pressing. And the other thing is, don't think he's been overused recently either. So I don't think you really need to worry about kind of burning him out and making him do that pressing role. But I think actually he's kind of at his best when he's doing that. But he's been sort of rotated recently where he's played maybe 70 minutes and then he does come in and things. So hopefully it's coming towards the end of the season. He's just getting back into his stride again. He's fresh enough to get us over the line as well. Mikey Johnson's an interesting one. See a few people mention that. I think we'll just cash in on Michael Johnson now. I don't know. He's done pretty well down there.
You know, if they get into the playoffs and they could have a great old time here.
I know. I mean, he scored a lot of great goals. That's the irony. He scored a lot of great goals. I watched a couple of the games and he did look pretty good. But I think that the difference is that we've got really such high expectations here, and we want to win every game, and you want him to beat every man and all that type of stuff. And it might just be the actual expectation thing. For example, watch game last night, Jeremy Doku come on, and obviously Real Madrid are a very good team, but he hardly beat a guy at all, and he's still such a brilliant player, and he's a menace, and he's got loads of brilliant performances in him. But you know, there's just some games where you come up against an organisation or whatever, or a team or a strategy, and it's pretty difficult to break teams down. But I really think that Michael Johnson will cash in on him if we can now, because if somebody comes along and offers us a few million, I think we may well just take it, you know, and just say, okay, right, it's not really worked out for us at Celtic, and you know, on you go. And that might be the best thing for him as well. Maybe actually it might be better for him to go and develop out with Celtic rather than getting it in the neck every week.
Yeah, I think we definitely try and cash in on the likes of him, Turnbull, Haksabanovic, that kind of championship loan brigade we've got on the go. Maybe try and get a second look at Lawal. His name's coming up in the chat quite a lot as well, in line with the midfielder chat we had a moment ago. But I'd love to see Kyogo on the left for sure. I do think, like, you know, Palma, if he does iron himself out, there's a useful player there. But like you said there, he's out and out left winger, out and out winger. It's kind of yet to be seen. We've got a bit of chat here as well for Forrest getting chucked into the equation for it. But I do think, like, I think I'm quite happy. I give pass marks to this point to Nicholas Kuhn, because I do think that he, like, I know he's not blown the league away or had an amazing match every single time, but on this right-hand side here, like, he's got a very consistent and a very good delivery, you know. So, like, when we are getting out here, there's a good chance of, you know, shots on target coming as a result. And, you know, like, you can get your other winger into the back post to do something, as well as the guys from midfield, when you know, similar to what Palma on paper is meant to give us as well, like that artillery. Kuhn's got a lovely touch, a lovely delivery, and he's really good at playing the overlap as well, which probably Palma isn't, which is why I think the right-hand side has been really good, really prolific for us over the last couple of weeks. So I think Kuhn's kind of nailed on to be right mid if fit at the moment.
Yeah, you've seen a difference. I mean, Johnson's been pretty good recently as well, and as you say, like, you know, it's kind of good to get those wee partnerships in there, just in the way like Greg Taylor and Maeda seem to have a pretty good partnership where when Maeda's making a run, Taylor knows like that run in behind, you know, the sort of fullback and all. So it's good to develop those wee sort of partnerships on the field. I think actually Kuhn will be pretty good. I mean, again, he's not been overly consistent yet, but I think I've seen enough to see that he's got some of the sort of technical attributes you think will actually be pretty good for us. So as Jay talking about Palmer's, good job Mark Patrick Rersing on and talking about how Palmer's better than Jota. I think he's going to eat his words on that one. But I mean, I think we're squad wise, touch wood, because obviously coming into the last game, we didn't know Maeda was injured, didn't know Scale was injured, and we've had a terrible season with injuries. So if we keep everybody sort of fit and healthy towards the end of the season, then I think we'll do it. We've still got to go out and do it, so let's not be getting complacent. But you know, we're in a hugely strong position now with the remaining fixtures and the confidence levels and all the shat the bed stuff. Why don't we just put on Clyde Super Scoreboard and just listen to it for about 20 minutes, honestly? That's what I did on Monday. Sorry. Had to be done.
Do we think this is the team that plays Aberdeen?
McGregor's an interesting one, so I see you've got Iwata in there. I think when McGregor's fit, you'll probably want him in there just from a sort of leadership point of view, being the captain. But if he starts, then Iwata will definitely come on and manage his minutes. But yeah, he was quite cautious on McGregor, wasn't he? He was like, he's not out of the woods yet, and you know, he didn't start, and he came on, and he get what, 15 minutes, 20 minutes or something? I don't know. So we'll see. And then it's nothing to do with Celtic, but he's got Euros coming up and everything, so he's still got a lot of football coming up, McGregor as well, you know. And it's a couple of weeks away now, I think, but we do have a midweek coming up towards the end of the season as well, don't we? So we've got Cup, and then we've got back to league fixtures, and then there's a midweek that comes up in there towards the end as well, where you've got the kind of 3 games in 7 days type thing, and that's going to be quite decisive unless we've sort of run away with it. We're here to talk about Celtic, but you know, Rangers are away at St Mirren next game as well, and you know, they frustrated us a lot in the first half in the last game. So you know, you never know. By the time it gets towards the end of the season, it might be done and dusted. But we've seen a lot of twists and turns, so we're not get too carried away. Kilmarnock away, I mean Kilmarnock away, I think's probably our toughest fixture to come up. Really. It's you know. It is. What I would say though is, I remember when we played there before and Vickers couldn't play because he was talking about us not doing anything for his knee and all that sort of stuff. But Vickers played at Livingston in the plastic pitch, so having him there would be a huge boost, I think, because you know, Kilmarnock are a good team. They're well organised and pitch is rotten, and you know, they've got a game plan and all that type of stuff. And they targeted Taylor there the last time as well, didn't they? So Taylor was all over the place, and they absolutely destroyed us down that sort of side there. It was Armstrong and stuff. Who played that? Nat Phillips played that day. So I mean, you know, but it's a different kettle of fish if you can try and get into that game with this team that we've got just now. And I know why people are worried about it. Obviously, it's a banana skin, but I think we'll do the business there if we get a similar team out to what we've got just now.
Yeah, I definitely think we've shown, like, when the team's at this level, even without Maeda, like, there's kind of like the 4 subs that you know the manager's going to make are all kind of decent enough options, if not pretty solid. You know, I'm not a big fan of Bernardo coming on for like Rio or O'Reilly, but you know, when he's going to come on, he can get in the box, he can put the ball in the net, if nothing else. You know, So you know, same with the wingers. Kyogo for Ida. You know, there's a lot of kind of good quality replacements there. So over the course, like that is really now a big separator between us and the competition in the division, because Dundee looked handy against Rangers, have looked handy against us as well this season. Some of you guys are giving a good shout out from McKeown, the midfielder for Dundee, in the midfielder chat we're talking earlier. Also, we're linked to Owen Beck, and there's another couple of guys in that team that are, you know, got something going for them. But it's I've kind of forgot what my main point with that was, to be honest with you. But it's not like a team that I really have much fear against with us, because beyond that, surface level, that's the point of it, of course, it's the depth. if they do get a yellow card to the wrong player, if they do have to make a sub at halftime, as soon as they make a couple of subs, the standard of the team is greatly diminished. Whereas with us, it kind of doesn't really change in some aspects. When you think about game state and minutes played and all that stuff in the match and whatever, maybe it's actually getting stronger in a roundabout way,
Yeah, we won really comfortably at Dundee away the last time as well. And I said really comfortably, like I think we kind of made hard work of it at one point, but we'd a record amount of corners and loads of possession. And Furuhashi missed one, he was through and he chipped it past goalkeeper and just went past post. But the good thing is we created a lot of chances, which was a real positive. I think that actually Owen Beck played Maeda really well. I was quite impressed with that, because I think the thing with Beck is, and he's out just now, but he's actually got a bit of pace about him as well, and he plays for Dundee. See, so Sorare takes like set pieces and things, so he's obviously got a wee bit of quality as well. I think actually Beck would still be a good signing for us from the point of view of he could be a guy where he gets forward and he's got that sort of delivery and stuff like that. But we'll see, obviously, what we do. It was really telling that we just get rid of Bernabei. It's like, just get him away. We don't really care. It's like, just let him go. This is a chance. Get him. Somebody's going to take him. We're going to drive him over. It's Brazil. That's fine. We'll get a ferry or whatever and just get him away. But yeah, there'll definitely be signing plans. But back to the last games, I'm really not worried. I feel a lot more confident seeing the recent performances, seeing some clean sheets going in, seeing guys available, seeing that we've got a stronger bench, and mentality as well. Just I think we've got that winning attitude, and I think when it gets to the stage where we've got a couple to win, we'll be at it. And when we're at it, we're well capable of beating teams 3-4, 5-0. Even in the top six, we're well capable of absolutely battering teams. I think it will be maybe a bit more nervy, but once we get that first goal against St Mirren, I'm thinking we're going to score 3 or 4 goals here, because it's about opening the door. And once the door's open, we'll keep going type thing. And I think that's the way it'll go. And a big semi at the weekend. I mean, obviously we've got to do the business there as well. Don't tell my wife I said big semi there.
So I was going to say, big semi, you'll be off to a good night, mate. You'll be off to a great start for sure.
No comment.
But yeah, I hope games normally do kind of hopefully give you that springboard to take into the league and just keep the form rolling, keep the momentum going. And yeah, Aberdeen aren't in great form, but they'll be looking at this as a cup final. And on that Hampden pitch, the first goal is always so telling in these games for me. And when you don't get the first one early, the Celtic fans, I think we've all got a bit of it in our blood that you get nervous after 20 minutes when it's 0-0. It's just like, oh, we've not scored 3 goals yet. So if we can score early enough, we can get control of the match quick enough. I think it should be a great weekend. I think the team kind of picks itself. But yeah, it's all about that first goal. So I do expect us to not take it lightly in any way, shape, or form. I think Rodgers plays the best team from the start and looks to take the game as quickly as possible. And then it is all focused back onto the league before the final itself. Are you going to the game yourself, McBride? You going to Hampden?
No, I'm not actually going this weekend, no. So I need to find a good TV to watch it on. But, I think Hampden as well it's quite, the pitch suits us there as well. I think it kind of suits the style of play and stuff. But yeah, no, I didn't get a ticket for it, so just need to watch it on the box. Yeah,
the same for me. No Sorare lineups, unfortunately, for Celtic this weekend. Across a couple of different divisions, I managed to win a couple of cards and a couple of £100 as well while I was at it. McBride, did you have a bit of a weekend yourself with the 4-0 win at St Mirren?
Well, I've done pretty well, actually. So the last 2 clean sheets in fantasy football was always pretty important. But yeah, I won the contender division, and then I think it's weekend before, I can't remember, won the cash comp as well. So it just shows you. I mean, Celtic really are performing pretty well in those games on a lot of metrics, which is quite interesting, because everybody slags off like Liam Scales, but his general stats are actually pretty good this season. But I think he has dipped a bit. I mean, obviously distribution wise and everything. But yeah, some really good wins, and it's I must say it's a bit extra specialty that with Celtic. That's the irony of the weekend. I think I'll be a bit more relaxed because they'll have all my fantasy football teams and everyone lined up. So who's going to score and who's going to do this and who's going to do that? We'll just be like, right, having a Guinness and I'm watching Celtic play Aberdeen. And not thinking about winning or losing or whatever in terms of the fantasy football, not Celtic obviously. So it's going to be fun to have that as well. But yeah, Celtic absolutely brilliant on Sorare as well. Good to see his rating and some cards and some wins.
Aye, definitely a good one. And yeah, the cup ones are definitely games we don't need to worry about that clean sheet getting burst. We don't need to worry about who's getting booked or, you know, who actually got the assist for that, or who's been awarded the goal or whatever. For any news, there's a lot of maybe a lot of first-time viewers on this one. Numbers are really, really high this Thursday night. Thanks to everyone that has been with us here. But sorry, it's 5-a-side fantasy football. I've got a channel, Quinny 3001 on YouTube, McBride Ace as well, where we kind of build teams from all over the world and go and try and win money, cards, match tickets, VIP tickets to, you know, I've not been around Europe this season. Last season I got around a bit of Spain, which was cool, but signed shirts, all that good stuff is all kind of what we're up to and where it's at as well. And Celtic are one of the biggest teams in world football, as we all know. And on that game, we are one of the most powerful, which is just like McBride's saying, just a little bit extra fun when you're, you know, winning a couple of $100, winning some cards, whatever it might be. And, you know, it's, you've watched, I said 4-0 earlier. I was getting ahead of myself because of the decisive I caught, but 3-0, yeah. Just with assists and everything else getting around, you know, it's all about that decisive action, love. If any of you are interested in playing Sorare, the Celtics are here. Have a link in the description to any of the, wherever you're watching this stream or this video. And by clicking on that link, you'll get yourself some auction credit and you'll support the channel here and all the content that gets made. So if you get stuck, if you get any questions, just jump into the comment section and somebody will come and sort you out as best we can. But McBride, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been a good one this weekend. I know we've, you know, me and you, we're burning the candle at both ends. We've got so much stuff still to do, getting ready for the weekend, for the Cup semi-final, and, you know, everything else kind of in between. For anyone else that is going to the game, good luck, travel safe. And before we finish, like we always tend to, I like to finish these shows anyway with some sort of score prediction. I think it's going to be a busy one at Hampden. I think Aberdeen are probably going to get 2 goals over the course of the match, to be honest with you. I'm going to go with a Celtic 4-2 win.
I'll go 4-0.
4-0 for McBride.
Aberdeen are
get into the
I hope I don't regret saying that. They're not good this season.
I just think there's like maybe a place where it goes 1 each in the game. Maybe there's a wee bit of 3-2. You know, I think there's just a wee space where Aberdeen are just going to be, they're not going to be a walkover, you know. So what does that look like? And I fancy us to score. So 4-2 is kind of what I get to, but I'm probably over egging it. It's maybe 2-1 or something, you know. But
that'd be 5-0 actually. I don't know. He was just pleased that we actually put 7 past somebody because he kept coming on saying it will be 6 or 7-0, and then we beat Dundee 7-1. So he was just pleased that we got that 7 on the board. But there we go. I think we'll beat them comfortably. Honestly, I just think we've got a lot of momentum with us. I think that we're in a good position in terms of the sort of league side of things now. I think confidence there. We've had a few clean sheets. We'll get big players back. It's a big occasion as well. And I think actually you mentioned the pitch, and Hampden suits us. It's a nice big pitch. You've got to go. You've got to play football. And I think we'll absolutely batter them. There we go. Where are you going, Quinny? I'm still here. Well, if everybody's still watching, that's the end of the show. See you later, guys. Cheers.
Do that, and I pressed the wrong button.